The dead quiet land was filled with the sound of a rumbling storm. The energy storm that spread across the ground swept over from a great distance. Even the space where it passed began to crumble. Its black mass was extremely terrifying. What is that? Xiao Yin followed close behind Sun Er. He sensed the frightening pressure that was being transmitted from far behind him before he asked in a somewhat solemn manner. The heavenly tomb's energy storm, a kind of natural disaster here. Its strength is extremely frightening. Even someone at the peak of the Dozun class will end up dying if he is forcefully swept into it. When the experts from the few clans entered the heavenly tomb past, some of the unlucky individuals would meet this energy storm and get swept into it. Sun Er softly replied, "It is unexpected that we are this unlucky this time around. We have actually met this thing. Normally speaking, an energy storm will only erupt once every few years. In any case, let's run first." The area affected by the energy storm is extremely vast. The entire second level will be within its impact area. Therefore, we must enter the third level in order to dodge it. Sun Er explained in a worried voice. Understood. Xiao Yin nodded. He turned his head and looked far behind him. Two figures were miserably following them. They were Hunya's duo. However, Xiao Yin did not have the time to be bothered about them at this moment. Huh? There are others? Xiao Yin suddenly saw numerous black figures rushing over with lightning-like speed when his eyes swept behind them, after which they caught one after another. Everyone swept their eyes around and were stunned. Ha ha! It is unexpected that Brother Xiao Yan's speed is this quick and has long since reached this place. The two figures were comprised of a man and a woman. They were Hua Xin and the red-clothed lady with a veil on her face from the Yin clan. At this moment, Hua Xin's eyes were looking at Xiao Yin in front. His expression became one of joy as he increased his speed and laughed. Xiao Yin also smiled when he heard this voice. He cupped his hands to Hua Xin's group in the distance before he smiled and said, "Brother Hua Xin is also quite fast." Hua Xin smiled. He and the red-clothed lady swiftly caught up with Xiao Yan's group. Their eyes swept over Xiao Yin, and the two of them were startled. "Brother Xiao Yin has advanced?" "Cuckoo, I was merely lucky." Xiao Yin laughed. Hua Xin exchanged glances with the red-clothed lady when he saw that Xiao Yin did not deny his words. He saw some surprise in the other party's eyes. It was unexpected that Xiao Yan's strength had advanced after having entered the heavenly tomb for half a year. This speed was quite frightening. It seems that those two fellows from the Hun clan are behind? Hua Xian's eyes glanced behind as he laughed. We have been entangled with them for a month. Unfortunately, this energy storm had spoiled our plans. Xiao Yin grinned and replied. Hua Xian's brows involuntarily twitched when he heard Xiao Yan's words. His heart was a little shaken. He naturally understood what Xiao Yan's nonchalant words meant. Hunya and Hunli were both 8-star Dozun experts and were extremely strong. The two of them could even fight a 9-star Dozun if they joined hands. It was unexpected that they were unable to gain an advantage against Xiao Yin and Sun Er. This energy storm has swept over the entire second level of the heavenly tomb. The only way to avoid it is to enter the third level. We are quite close to the third level and should be able to enter it before the storm catches up if we speed up a little. Hua Xin smiled and said, "We might be able to take care of each other during this period of time. What do you say, Brother Xiao Yin?" "No problem." Xiao Yin merely grinned. He would naturally not reject Hua Xin's attempt to be friendly, especially at such a moment. An additional helper would mean that their chances of survival would be much greater. The two smiled at each other after coming to an agreement. Sun Er and the red-clothed lady beside them did not interrupt their conversation. When their eyes crossed each other, they nodded slightly and shifted their gazes away. The four of them moved closer after the discussion was over. Their eyes cautiously swept around them, after which their bodies rushed forward with lightning-like speed. It is unexpected that those fellows from the Yin clan have gotten together with Xiao Yin. Behind them, Hunya was gloomy as he watched Xiao Yan's duo get together with Hua Xian's group. His expression involuntarily became cold. Their current fighting strength could not compare with Xiao Yan's duo. If they were to gain some additional helpers, the two who would be in a bad situation would be them. All of you can be pleased for a little longer. None of you will be able to escape once we reach the 3rd level. A brutal expression flashed across Hunya's eyes. His speed once again soared. Both he and Hunya turned into blurry black figures that swiftly flew to the entrance of the 3rd level. The fleeing for one's lid continued for nearly half a day. The speed of Xiao Yan's group was maintained at the limit during this half a day. Hence, the exhaustion of their Do Qi had reached a frightening level. Fortunately, the few of them still had quite a lot of energy cores remaining in their hands. Hence, they wouldn't need to worry about exhausting their Do Qi for a period of time. Although their used Do Qi was replenished, their fatigued minds were causing Xiao Yan's group to feel a little tired. The energy storm in hot pursuit behind them was just like the sickle of a death god. None of them dared to slight it. Xiao Yin, we are fast approaching the entrance of the 3rd level. Sun Er suddenly looked into the distance as they fled with all their strength. She opened her mouth and made a comment. Xiao Yin and Huaxian rejoiced when they heard her words. They carefully sensed in that direction and could indeed feel a vague energy pressure in the distance. Let's go. Increase our speed. Xiao Yin laughed out loud when he saw that the entrance was within sight. He waved his hand, and his speed suddenly soared. His figure was just like a meteorite as it drew through the sky, disappearing within a couple of flashes. Hunya's group behind had also sensed something when Xiao Yan's group discovered the entrance to the 3rd level. They braced their attention, and their originally tired minds became high-spirited as they went all out to be quicker. An enormous energy curtain poured down from the sky in the distance. It was inserted into the ground, appearing like a heavenly wall. At this moment, 4 figures were seated in front of the energy light curtain. One of them raised his head a moment later. He looked into the distance and faintly said, "They have all come. Along with them is the energy storm." As expected, a silver-robed man and a burly-looking man sighed when they heard this. The former curled his mouth and said, "Guzhan, aren't you a little too calm? That is the energy storm. If we were swept up by it, none of us here would survive." "Haha, it is not that I am calm, but it is pointless to panic. Plus, General Qingyang is here. The worst scenario will likely not occur." Guzhan faintly smiled as he replied. "You," that green-clothed man, who had his eyes shut, involuntarily smiled and opened them when he heard this. He looked into the distance and said, "The energy light has already solidified. We can only forcefully create a tunnel. However, just the 4 of us will not be able to perform such an undertaking. Therefore, we must wait for the others even though we have come first. You are afraid of being overly exhausted to the point of being unable to deal with the situation after entering the 3rd level, right?" Guzhan shook his head and laughed. The green-clothed man smiled but did not refute those words. He slowly stood up, looked into the distant sky, and said, "Sun Er and the rest have arrived." Chi. A couple of figures surfaced in the sky soon after his words sounded. They appeared in front of this energy curtain within a couple of flashes. All of them were startled when they saw the 4 people seated outside. "Gu Qingyang? The speed of you 4 is really fast." Huaxian looked at the 4 individuals. He softly commented after being briefly startled, "Big brother Qingyang, why have all of you not entered? The energy storm is arriving." Sun Er also slowly landed from the sky. She knit her brows and asked, "The light curtain has solidified and must be forcefully broken. We have been waiting for everyone." Gu Qingyang faintly smiled. His eyes swept over Xiao Yin and a strange expression flashed across his eyes. He turned to Sun Er and asked, "Are you all right?" "It's nothing. We have merely danced with those two fellows from the Hun clan for a month." Sun Er shook her head as she answered, "Those two dared to attack you?" The green-clothed man frowned when he heard this. The usually calm Guzhan also lifted his head. There was a chill in his eyes, but the one who eventually asked her a question was that silver-robed man. "They didn't gain an advantage," Sun Er smiled. She turned her head, only to see numerous rays of light rushing over. They turned into numerous figures that appeared. Their eyes looked over. These people were those who had entered the heavenly tomb back then. However, they were a little miserable. Hunya and Hunli had remained at the back. Clearly, they were afraid that Xiao Yan's group would attack at this moment. Now is not the time to fight with them. "We do not have the time," Xiao Yan whispered when he saw the appearance of the green-clothed man. The green-clothed man did not ignore Xiao Yan's words. He naturally understood that the most important task was to break the energy light curtain and enter the third level. "Everyone, all of you should be aware of the situation. However, this energy light curtain that leads to the third level has solidified. We must forcefully break it in order to enter the third level. However, this undertaking cannot be completed by a single person. Hence, if everyone wishes to live, we must join hands and break it. Otherwise, we will all perish together when the storm comes." The green-clothed man stepped forward. His eyes swept around as he spoke in a faint voice. Everyone's expression changed when they heard his words. They mused for a moment before slowly nodding. Those who could enter this place were no mediocre individuals. They naturally understood that there was only one path left for them: enter the third level or perish. Gu Qingyang smiled after seeing everyone nod their heads. He glanced at the energy storm in the distance and said, "Since there are no objections, let us all begin. This is my suggestion, so we shall be the first to act. Everyone will take turns later on. Of course, do not blame me for speaking bluntly. If anyone wishes to be lazy or have any ill thoughts, do not blame me for being rude." His eyes swept over everyone when he spoke. They finally paused on Hunya and Hunli, but his smiling face seemed indifferent. General Qing Yang can rest assured. Everyone is now in the same boat. Whoever intends to sink this boat will not be let off by the others. A man with a lightning symbol on his forehead opened his mouth to speak. He was a member of the Lei clan, one of the 8 ancient clans. "Ha, thank you very much," Gu Qingyang laughed. After which, he turned his head to Gu Zhan and the 2 others. "Let's act first. Xiao Yan and Sun Er, you will be the last." Xiao Yan slightly nodded when he saw Gu Qingyang shift his eyes to him at the end. He understood that Gu Qingyang had placed them last to monitor Hunya's group. "All right, let's begin." That silver-robed man laughed. After which, he slowly walked to the light curtain with the other 3. Do Qi whistled out of their bodies like floodwater, transforming into numerous, unusually large Do Qi pillars that ruthlessly smashed into the solidified light. Bang! The offensive strength of the 4 of them joining hands was unusually frightening. Even though that light curtain was extremely hard, it cracked under this attack. Finally, a crack sounded, and a 10-foot large hole, about 3 to 4 meters tall, appeared. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone sighed in relief when they saw that the attack was effective. Immediately, Gu Qingyang and the 3 others erupted again. Their hands were wrapped in their bright Do Qi and appeared just like sharp blades as they were ruthlessly inserted into the crystal wall. Solid energy fragments continued to shoot out. The 4 of them were undoubtedly just like drilling machines at this moment. Majestic Do Qi surged, and the hole that they created became deeper. This kind of tunnel opening continued for 10 minutes or so. Gu Qingyang and the 3 others finally halted after perspiration covered their foreheads. They turned their heads and took a look. They had already dug a 10-foot-long tunnel. Everyone had swarmed in behind them and were curiously studying the surrounding energy crystal layer. This light curtain was over 1,000 feet wide. Hence, it would require over an hour to pass through it even with the group continuously opening the tunnel. This undertaking would not be finished even after an entire week if there were only 1 or 2 people. General Qingyang, allow us to continue. The 2 men from the Lei clan behind laughed when they saw Gu Qingyang's group coming to a stop. They naturally understood that Gu Qingyang's group could still continue. However, they were clearly planning to preserve some strength. It was impossible for them to allow themselves to become completely exhausted. After all, the relationship between the 8 ancient clans was not as friendly as one imagined. Caution would definitely form when next to one another. "Ha, in that case, we'll trouble Brother Lei Luo," Gu Qingyang laughed. After which, the 4 of them pulled back. The 2 members from the Lei clan strode forward. Bright lightning glows gathered on their fists. Finally, they emitted a low cry as they ruthlessly smashed forward. Rumbling sounds once again appeared in the tunnel. The energy storm is getting closer. While everyone were advancing with the opening of the tunnel, Xiao, who was at the back, turned his head and looked at the entrance of the tunnel. The energy pressure that was transmitted from the outside was becoming stronger. One could vaguely hear the whistling wind that had been created by the energy storm. It is likely not possible to barge into the energy storm. Sun Er smiled and comforted when she saw Xiaoyan's eyes. Has the entrance to the 3rd level always been solidified? Xiaoyan smiled and nodded. His hand suddenly rubbed the solid energy crystal beside him. This brilliant thing had been agglomerated from an extremely frightening energy. Moreover, it was compressed to an unimaginable level. Only then did it form such a vast energy curtain. It is rumored that the light curtain of this place had already solidified even when our 8 clans first came here. Even after a countless number of years, the solid energy here still does not show any signs of melting. Sun Er nodded gently and replied. Xiaoyan clicked his tongue and sighed. This heavenly tomb was indeed mysterious. The tunnel became longer while Xiaoyan and Sun Er were chatting, but the 2-man team from the Lei clan was unable to compete with Gu Qingyang's 4-man group. Hence, they had opened less than a 50-foot distance when they were replaced. Fortunately, there were still many people behind. One group after another took turns to step forward, allowing the energy tunnel to grow deeper. Bang! After this tunnel creation continued for another 10 minutes or so, an earth-shaking sound suddenly reverberated behind them. Everyone sensed the light curtain violently shake at this moment. The energy storm has swept over. This kind of activity caused the tunnel to immediately become quiet. Everyone's expressions were somewhat solemn. Such a large energy curtain was shaken by the energy storm. If they had still been outside at this moment, they would have immediately turned to dust. "Everyone, let's speed up." Gu Qingyang knit his brows before opening his mouth to incentivize everyone. Although they had avoided the energy storm, it was still overly pressuring. The surrounding brilliant energy crystals might be beautiful, but they gave one an uncomfortable feeling. Everyone nodded slightly upon hearing his voice. Hua Xin's group was opening the tunnel at the front, and they increased their attacking speed. With the flow of them, Xiaoyan and Sun Er had also opened up the tunnel twice. Breaking the crystal layer was not as difficult as Xiaoyan had imagined. The crystal layers might be extremely hard, but it was not some unchewable bone to Xiaoyan, who possessed a couple of heavenly flames. Hunya and Hunli had also performed some hard labor while monitored by Xiaoyan's group. However, it was obvious that they were loafing on the job. Nevertheless, there was no time to make a fuss at this moment. No matter how unpleasing Xiaoyan's group found them to be, everything had to wait until they exited the energy tunnel. During this period of time, Xiaoyan's eyes paid attention to the 2 from the Yao clan. The ones from the Yao clan who had entered the heavenly tomb were the man with some mysterious lines on his clothes and the sexily clad lady. From the aura of the both of them, they should be at the 7th star of the Dozun class. Their fighting strength appeared to be inferior to Han Yu's group on the surface. The gazes that these two people occasionally gave Xiao Yin were quite unfriendly, but Xiao Yin was too lazy to pay too much attention to them. The geniuses from the ancient clans always contained a faint superiority in their hearts. When facing an ordinary human, such a superior feeling would appear especially strong. Qi. The rumbling sound continued to appear within the tunnel. Xiao Yin shut his eyes slightly, but he had just shut his eyes when an unusual sound was suddenly transmitted into his ear, causing him to open his eyes once again. He looked at the crystal wall to his left before touching it with his hand. He had ended up discovering a layer of faint energy liquid seeping from it. This is... Xiao Yin was startled. His eyes swept over the crystal walls on both sides, and his body paused there for a moment, after which he flicked his finger in front of Sun Er's uncertain eyes. 2 energy pillars extended from the tip of his finger. They finally connected to the crystal walls beside them. Xiao Yan's unusual actions had attracted the notice of the others. All of them looked at him in surprise. Even the 2 who were opening the tunnel at the front had halted. Their faces were at a loss. Xiao Yin. Gu Qingyang frowned slightly and cried out. However, Xiao Yin acted as though he did not hear Gu Qingyang's cry. He slowly lifted his head and looked at everyone. The blood on his face had greatly diminished as he replied in a dry voice, "The crystal wall is closing." The tunnel immediately became dead quiet when Xiao Yan's voice sounded. Gu Qingyang's expression had become much uglier at this moment. He created 2 energy pillars just like Xiao Yin. After sensing carefully, he did indeed feel a slight pressure being transmitted from the energy pillar. Bastard! What kind of a damn place is this? Everyone felt their head become numb when they saw Gu Qingyang's expression. Someone even involuntarily cursed. Gu Zhen's face was grave. He quickly walked to the side of the crystal wall and touched it with his hand. He immediately yelled in a deep voice, "There is something in the crystal wall." Bang! Gu Zhen's words had just sounded when he ruthlessly smashed the crystal wall. A crack line formed at that spot, and a dense snow-white thing wiggled within it. A liquid-like substance seeped out before covering the surface of the crystal body. It quickly solidified and formed a layer of extremely thin substance energy. These things are secreting energy to repair the crystal wall. Xiao Yin inhaled a gentle breath of cool air when he saw the worm. A chill surged within his heart as he slowly turned around. His eyes swept around him. This energy light curtain that stood between the sky and earth had, by these small snow-white insects? From the size of these small insects, if they wished to create such a large light curtain, their numbers, just how frightening were they? They had barged into an incomparably overbearing insect nest. While Xiao Yan's heart felt a chill, Gu Qingyang and the rest had focused on the snow-white small insects, after which their faces slowly turned pale white. Ancient devouring insect. Xiao Yin was startled when he heard the mutterings of Gu Qingyang's group. This is a small magical beast that lived during ancient times. Their bodies are extremely tiny, but they are endless in number. The ancient devouring insects, as their name suggests, are able to devour everything, after which they secrete pure energy. Originally, this kind of thing should have gone extinct. It is unexpected that we have found them here, Sun Er softly explained. This light curtain should have been created by these ancient devouring insects. Unexpectedly, we have barged into their nest. If they awaken, not even dregs would remain of us. Gu Qingyang's expression was a little grave as he spoke. Finding these ancient devouring insects had completely exceeded his expectation. It is likely not just this light curtain. It might be possible that quite a bit of energy within this heavenly tomb has been created by them. Gu Zhen lowered his body, touched the ground, and slowly wondered aloud. Gu Qingyang, are you planning on getting all of us killed here? Hanya laughed in a dense and cold manner. By bringing all of you into this place, I have, at the very least, allowed you to live until now. If we did not enter, all of you would have already died in the energy storm. Gu Qingyang glanced indifferently at Hanya, after which his eyes swept over everyone as he said in a deep voice, "Now is not the time to talk about this. The crystal walls on the two sides are slowly closing up. We must open the tunnel as soon as possible. Otherwise—" Everyone nodded upon hearing his words. It was a little late to say anything now. There was a raging energy storm outside the tunnel. They would die if they pulled back and left. Remaining here would also lead to death. The only way to survive was to open a tunnel through. Everyone should cease preserving your strength from now on. Of course, I will not stop you if you wish to die. Gu Qingyang spoke in a deep voice. He immediately waved his hand. Let's begin. Everyone nodded upon hearing his command. They quickly stepped forward, and the dou qi within their bodies surged out without holding back. In an instant, a loud rumbling sound appeared within the tunnel in an intense manner. Bang bang! Amid the wild and violent explosions of this group of people, the speed at which the crystal wall was being opened suddenly increased. Crystals shot out and thick layers landed on the ground. While everyone was doing their best to open the tunnel, the crystal walls on both sides slowly began to wiggle. In the end, one could see the crystal walls on both sides slowly closing with one's naked eye. There's an increasing number of ancient devouring insects gathering. Gu Zhen's expression was solemn. There was an endless amount of liquid energy seeping out of the crystal walls, after which this energy liquid rapidly solidified. If this continued, this tunnel would close before they could completely break through the crystal wall. It won't do to continue like this. Seeing this, Xiao slowly shook his head and commented in a deep voice, "There is no choice. We can only do this regardless of how ineffective it is. We will die if we stay. All we can do is go all out." Gu Qingyang knit his brows. He also felt a headache. It was unexpected that they would be so unlucky to meet such a troublesome thing in this place. Xiao also frowned. He cautiously looked at both walls. It was vaguely possible to see densely packed insect figures behind the crystal wall. Their numbers really caused one's skin to feel numb. We must hinder the rate at which the crystal wall closes up. Gu Qingyang shook his head when he heard this. It's useless. Any attack is swallowed by these ancient devouring insects. Randomly attacking will only cause the energy that they secrete to increase. He waved his sleeve after uttering those words. A powerful dou qi violently struck the crystal wall on both sides. All of them watched the dou qi disappear when it came into contact with the crystal wall. Wave after wave of energy, liquid began to rapidly flow from the spot where the dou qi landed. A frightened expression finally surged into Xiao eyes when he witnessed this scene. These insects might be inconspicuous, but it was unexpected that they possessed such a mysterious strength after gathering together. These ancient devouring insects are hiding behind the crystal wall. Attacking them will not be effective. Those insects will also gather in front of us. A chill suddenly rose within Xiao heart when he thought of this. Wouldn't that mean they would be sealed to death in this place if that was the case? Gu Qingyang was slightly startled when he saw Xiao face suddenly change. He seemed to recall something. His eyes swiftly turned to the crystal wall where he vaguely saw some tiny figures swiftly gathering. Bang! A fist that contained a powerful wind struck the crystal wall in front of them. This time around, the expected scattering of crystals did not appear. Only a half-a-foot wide dent appeared where the fist landed. Moreover, this dent had just appeared when waves of liquid energy seeped out and quickly repaired it. Those ancient devouring insects have run to the front. Everyone's expression became ugly when they saw this unexpected change. A panic even surged into the eyes of some people. This was really a blind alley. Bang bang. Some people refused to be misled. They once again unleashed two violent attacks. However, they did not manage to cause much of an impact. What should we do now? Everyone faced each other before their eyes gathered on Gu Qingyang. However, he was also frowning at this moment. Their hearts involuntarily sank. Gu Qingyang, what a good tactic. Hunya's originally pale expression had become even paler as he spoke in a dark and sinister voice. I will give it a try. Xiao knit his brows as he took 2 steps forward. It is useless, Gu Qingyang sighed. The ancient devouring insect's devouring ability was too frightening. Even with their strength, they were unable to resolve the desperate situation in front of them. Xiao did not show any reaction to his sigh. He clenched his hand, but he did not release Do Qi. Instead, a cluster of purple-brown heavenly flames with a dense white color was summoned. The temperature within the tunnel rose with the appearance of this cluster of heavenly flames. Go! Xiao flicked his finger. The heavenly flame in his hand rapidly flew forward. It gently drifted and touched the crystal wall. Creak, creak. A creaming sound was suddenly emitted from the energy wall when the two made contact. Everyone was stunned to see a 2-foot-deep hole appeared where the flame landed. The remnant heat annihilated a countless number of ancient devouring insects. Looks like this is not a hopeless situation. These ancient devouring insects are unable to devour heavenly flames. Xiao sighed in relief and laughed to everyone after seeing the effect that the heavenly flame obtained. Everyone quietly sighed in relief at this moment as well. Fortunately, they were able to find hope once again. Xiao quickly opened the tunnel. A joy flashed across Hunya's eyes as he hurriedly urged. Xiao ignored Hunya. His eyes landed on the red-clothed lady from the Hun clan and the man from the Yao clan. He said, You two, I can be in charge of opening the tunnel. However, I hope that the both of you will use your heavenly flames to deal with the sides and slow down the rate at which the crystal wall closes up. This job should not be difficult for the two of you. The lady from the Yin clan is called Huaji. She possesses the Red Lotus Yi flame, which is ranked 8th on the heavenly flame ranking. That man from the Yao clan is called Yao Xingji. He is called human medicine in the Yao clan. His alchemist level is quite extraordinary. Sun Er, who was beside Xiao introduced them in a voice that only he could hear. Red Lotus Yi flame? Xiao heart thumped slightly upon hearing this. He had never seen a heavenly flame of this rank. Huazhu nodded without hesitation after hearing Xiao words while Yao Xingji frowned. Nevertheless, he could only nod his head when he thought about their current situation. Additionally, Xiao smiled when he saw the two of them nodding. He slowly continued, Everyone should be aware just what kind of enormous undertaking it is to open this crystal wall. Using the heavenly flame is also very exhausting. I, alone, will not be able to endure through it all. Hence, other than Huaya and Yao Xingji, I will require the energy cores in everyone else's hands. Everyone was startled when they heard this. Gu Qingyang's group did not comment much as they nodded. The members from the remaining few clans did not object after hesitating for a moment. They were aware that what Xiao said was true. They still felt tired even after joining hands. Even less needed to be said now that the job would be completed by Xiao alone. Brother Xiao might be straightforward, but his words are reasonable. These are the energy cores that we have gathered during this period of time. The two individuals from the Lei clan mused for a moment before tossing a cloth bag toward Xiao. The cloth bag contained extremely dense energy. From its weight, there was likely more than 100 energy cores. Seeing the duo from the Lei clan take the lead, the remaining people also began to take out the bags that stored their energy cores one after another. They then tossed them to Xiao Xiao Yin smiled as took all the bags. After which, his eyes landed on Hunya's duo at the back. He spoke in a faint voice. What about you two? Xiao Yin, you have already taken so many energy cores. Isn't it enough? Hunya demanded in a deep voice. His face had turned cold after seeing that he had failed to escape. Regardless of whether it is enough, I still wish to get a reward from you, Xiao Yin answered with a smile. It was a whimsical thought if they were thinking of getting him to work for them without any remuneration. Sun Er involuntarily smiled when she saw this from the side. It seemed that Xiao Yin had decided to ruthlessly grab everything from these two fellows. Of course, I will not force you if you are not willing. However, please turn around and walk back. Hunya and Hunli's faces turned green when they saw Xiao Yin show a please leave gesture. However, they would definitely be at a disadvantage fighting here given that Xiao Yan's group was large in number. Hence, the two of them exchanged glances and could only clench their teeth. They took out a bag with great dissatisfaction and violently tossed it at Xiao Yan. Take it. Quickly get to work. The smile on Xiao Yan's face involuntarily became denser when he heard the furious voices of these two individuals.